Hi everyone, this is Catherine from Research Rockstar. Thanks for joining me again today for Conversations with Rockstars. So we want to talk about research, we want to talk about data, and one of the things that I've promised is that we're going to cover topics that are really about helping people to think about their career and their professional opportunities. A big topic these days is CX. Customer experience. And related to that, I had read a really great article on this topic that was by McKinsey, and I'm showing a picture of that right over here. Let me just bring that up better. Um, and I shared that with my good friend, Greg Timpany, who's joining us today. Greg is an amazing market research expert. He's been doing professional market research for over 20 years. And he is also one of our instructors here at Research Rockstar, where we have a team of 10 people who teach in a virtual classroom. And one of the things that I really value about Greg is that not only is he somebody who really understands the theory of doing professional customer insights and market research, he really has a lot of practical hands-on experience. So he's always a great resource to get feedback from about current trends. So thank you for joining me today, Greg.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So one of the things I'd like to ask you about and get your input on is this whole topic of CX in general. You know, in our classes, we have a lot of people who are market research and customer insights professionals. And sometimes I do get this question of, well, CX sounds like market research. Is it the same thing or is this an entirely different animal? What do you think?
I really think it's the same animal. It's just a slightly different colored skin, perhaps. One of the things I see in the customer experience is that you cannot really be just a quantitative individual or a qualitative individual. You have to have both of those skills and be able to bring those together. So if you are a practitioner like myself, whose skill set is leaning predominantly to the quantitative side, then I have to brush up on my observational skills, my in-depth interview skills, and those qualitative skills that you would need
Hmm.
to kind of round out the picture, because it's not just data from a survey. It's not just data out of your transactional warehouse. It's a blend of those and the whole qualitative side, the whole feeling side to it. So really customer experience to me is sort of taking both of the sides of the scale, if you will, the market research scale that we look at, the quantitative and the qualitative, and bringing them together into one space.
Excellent. I really like your take on it because I really feel the same way, to be honest, where I feel like it's become a very trendy phrase, CX. You know, you see trade shows that have CX in them, and you see job titles now with CX. But when I look at the actual methodologies that are being used, it is market research. Like you say, a lot of qual, a lot of quant, but it's not like it's a whole new tool set. Um, to me, it
It
feels a
is
lot,
not.
right? To me, it feels a lot like if somebody were to declare market segmentation a specialty. It would be the same thing. To do a great job with market segmentation, you're going to use a lot of different methodologies, and it's a specialty, but it's using the market research toolkit, if you will.
Exactly. I mean, you have all of these tools within your bag of tricks, if you will. And in this case, we're bringing out some tools and some skills that perhaps we don't use as such on a regular basis. For me, it's those qualitative skills and brushing those up. Now, I'm in the market right now, so I'm looking at a lot of different job titles and descriptions. Just like you said, you see CX popping up everywhere. And
Yeah.
if you look deeper into these job descriptions, it's really nothing more than a market research position. It's just gussied up with a new name, and the customer experience is the name du jour. So it's really, again, it's more of a blend of that which we know to be market research, all of the tools brought together into one place.
Yep.
I can
No.
easily see somebody who has a qualitative background needing to brush up on how to develop a survey, or sitting down and talking with an IT person about the kind of data that can be brought in out of a transactional system. So it's bringing all of these streams of data together into essentially one pot.
Yeah, I really like your point about, bringing in different tools and stuff to create a more holistic sort of, synthesized understanding of the customer experience. It kind of reminds me, though, of something many years ago. I don't know if you encountered this, but many years ago there was a concept that was very popular called whole product. And whole product research was where we would look at a product, but we counted everything around it. So if we were trying to understand the whole product, we were looking at the customer's experience with the product, with the packaging, with customer support, with the sales process, everything basically that is involved in either acquiring and using and eventually even retiring a product.
Well, exactly. Nothing exists in a vacuum. Not a product, not a customer service event. It all exists in a flow, if you will. There was a really good article that came out around the turn of the century. I got to say that. I love the phrase now. From SPSS, and it talked about two rivers was the title of the article, and that was at a point when data mining was the buzzword of the day. And it was how to bring qualitative and quantitative, or what we would call traditional market research, into the same space with data mining. Well, now we've kind of taken that into three rivers and we're bringing in all of the social media streams, bringing in what people are saying in places outside of just the customer experience, the purchase experience. So realistically, just like you said, the whole product approach really is the best way to look at it, because we cannot look at an individual experience. We have to look at the totality or the flow before we can really understand.
I really love that point, and I think that's something that this article also did a good job of putting forth. The other thing about this article that I really wanted to get your input on is some of the language that it uses, because it uses some language that you do often see in articles that are specifically about CX. So when what I might consider a market research project is framed as CX, you do sometimes see some slightly different semantics. For example, customer journey and touch points. So for our listeners here, can you help us understand what would be the difference between a journey and touch points?
Well, I see it as something sort of very simplistically, that is a journey is the sum of the touch points. When I was with the Los Angeles Times some years ago at this point, I was working in circulation, and we actually did a map of all the places that a subscriber or a prospect could reach out and engage with the circulation aspects of the Los Angeles Times. And again, those are all a series of touch points. But when you add up all of these touch points and you add up the other aspects, such as working with the finance department, if you're in a business-to-business situation, or working with the customer service if you've had an issue, all of these collective individual touch points add up to a journey, which is why it's really critical. And this article points out very succinctly that you may be doing great on one or two touch points, but your average for the whole journey might be in the toilet. I've seen this in many places that I've worked at, most notably Global Knowledge recently, where we excelled on one or 2 points, but the journey as a whole, the fact that we were not getting the kind of repeat business that we wanted to, that meant that there were some gaps to look at. So again, if you're focusing just on touch points, you're missing the bigger picture, because it's not just, I met with the customer salesperson, and it's so much more than that nowadays.
Right. No,
it's what the website is telling us. It's what the bigger picture is showing us.
excellent. And in fact, in this article, they do talk about the importance of figuring out what your metrics are. And I always like that. I always like it when people take a fresh look at what are the right metrics and not just defaulting to standard ones.
That is true. I mean, there are books have been written on marketing metrics, and it's not just sales growth. It's not just a CSAT score. There may be very well metrics that are independent of each other, but when you add them all up, like you would in a regression equation, they add up to something.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think that this article is a really great overview, so I definitely recommend it as reading to people who may be listening to this. I will also put a link to the article in the notes so that you can see that there, so be sure to check that out. And then, Greg, before I let you go today, one other thing I wanted to approach with you is this. slight confusion, I think, that is out there between the phrase CX and UX. And I think some people talk about customer experience, some people talk about user experience. In my mind, they are different, but they are related. I was wondering what your take was on the difference and the use of the phrases CX versus UX.
I definitely agree that in fact, I think you could put UX inside of or under the overarching umbrella of CX. They are different. How you relate to an application on your phone, how you relate to a website, how you relate to a sales process, for example. That's all a user experience, and we have to have that information. But again, it's all part of a larger customer experience picture. So again, I would say UX is truly a good place for designers to kind of meet with marketers and to meet with the customer service people and kind of come to that nexus to understand how a user, which again could be a customer, might be a prospect, how they interact with some of our outward facing media vehicles. But again, this all flows into what is the bigger picture? What is the bigger customer experience? So I definitely see UX and CX as being different entities, but I would also say that I feel that UX flows directly into a customer experience.
Yeah, I really like your point of view on this, and I like the idea of CX being sort of an umbrella kind of concept at this point. It is interesting because you see a lot of job posts for CX and you see a lot of job posts for UX these days. They're both very hot, hot topics, frankly. So it's
Uh,
definitely making a little bit of adding a little complexity for those people who are professional customer insights and market researchers. If I'm thinking about my career planning, now I also have some of these specialties that are very hot right now. And I might find that some of my best opportunities might not necessarily be a job title that has market research in the job title or even consumer insights in the title. It might instead be a job title that has the phrase CX or UX in it.
Easily so. Again, I'm looking at these on a daily basis at the moment, and you definitely see overlap. I mean, if I'm looking from a career path perspective, and if I'm a traditional market research at this point, I want to make sure I'm grounded in the customer experience, the buzzword of the day. I definitely want to make sure that I can deliver both an in-depth interview as well as a rockin' survey. So you need to have both of those toolkits up and ready and polished up, if you will, if you want to be successful in the CX space. You're right. In the UX space, I'm seeing a lot of job descriptions talking about being able to work with customers and prospects and users, if you will, in a way that is more of a what I would call a qualitative approach, working one-on-one or in small groups to understand what they think about a website design or an application design. So
Excellent.
those skills are definitely necessary to have if you're going down a UX or even a CX pathway.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with this, Greg. I really, really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I just want to let our viewers and our listeners know that I'm going to put your Twitter handle in the show notes so that if they want to follow you, because I know you post some really great content and you author a lot of wonderful articles, so I want anybody to be able to follow you after
Thank
this.
you.
So thanks everybody for
Wonderful.
joining us today. Again, I'm Catherine Korostoff with Research Rockstar. If I can be of any help, I will also put my contact information in the show notes. And again, hope to see you next Friday. We're going to be doing probably another 4 or 5 of these to see how much interest there is in conversations for Research Rockstars. Thanks everyone and have a great day.